All City Media, live from the winter meetings, talking CHGO Cubbies with Ryan Herrera. I'm Patrick Lyons of DNVR Rockies, Jesse Friedman here, PHNX Diamondbacks. The winter meetings here in San Diego feel like there might be a lot about the Cubs because they are in the middle of it. They might have a little bit of money to spend. They said they are going to go out and get a top shortstop.
Yes.
Carlos Correa seemed like he might have been the guy at first. All of a sudden, the winds have changed here. The marine layer has blown in here in San Diego. And all of a sudden, Xander Bogaerts is the guy for the Chicago Cubs. Apparently, how do you feel about this, Ryan? Is this good news?
It's not bad news.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
No, and I've talked about it on the CHGO Cubs podcast that if I'm Jed Hoyer, if I'm in charge, and top of my wish list is Carlos Correa. So to know that, like, I mean, it's not like Xander Bogaerts is a big downgrade or anything from Carlos Correa. But if I'm at the top of my wish list, it's probably Carlos Correa, then maybe Trey Turner, then Xander Bogaerts, and then Dansby Swanson's a little lower than the three of those. But as far as do I think it's good news? Yeah, because you know what? They're getting a shortstop. And that's what the Cubs have needed. And that's what we've talked about all offseason. That became clear, especially with the banning of the defensive shift. They need another shortstop. And all four of those guys are obviously all-star, former all-stars at least at shortstop. If it's Xander Bogaerts, he's a great player. Comes from a great organization, has proven himself at the big league level. Yeah, I mean that's good news because they're getting a shortstop and that's what they need.
We've been talking a lot about Xander Bogaerts recently on the PHNX Diamondbacks podcast because a few days ago, Jeff Passan wrote that the Diamondbacks are one of the teams that checked in on him, apparently. We haven't heard anything else regarding that connection with the Diamondbacks payroll situation. I don't really see it working out. But all that to say, we've been talking a lot about Xander Bogaerts recently. The big thing for me when I thought about Bogaerts coming to the Diamondbacks was obviously for them, I mean, it would be the kind of investment that would really hinder them from, making improvements elsewhere on the roster. Maybe for the Cubs, that's a little bit less of a concern. They have a little bit more room to move financially. But it seemed to me, Ryan, and I'm curious what you think. It seemed to me that if you're gonna throw, $200 million or whatever it is, Bogaerts is probably on the more affordable side of things, at least compared to Correa and Trey Turner.
Fair.
It's like if you're going to throw that much money at a guy, like make sure you get the one that you really feel confident in moving forward, right? And I guess that sort of goes without saying. But when I look at Xander Bogaerts and what he's done in Boston, and he had a great year this past season, the defensive metrics actually took a big step forward.
Man, it was like years of being negative, and then
he really was never a very good shortstop until suddenly at like age 30, he like became a plus defender at shortstop.
Contract year, right?
Yeah, contract years will do that, I guess. But it seemed like the offense moving forward. I'm not sure if Xander Bogaerts, being around 30 years old and, obviously it only goes up from here. I just don't know if I feel personally as confident in his offensive production kind of standing the test of time as maybe I would for especially Carlos Correa.
And to your point with the defense, does he slide over at third base at some point? Obviously, depending on how long-term.
And he doesn't have a great arm. He doesn't have a great arm. So I don't know if him sliding over to third base works as well as maybe it would for other guys in that group.
Well, one of the things that kind of came out as I guess not explicitly said, but kind of you can interpret it that him, like he doesn't want to move off shortstop. Like the whoever's going to get him, he's going to be playing shortstop. And that's when it comes to the Cubs, they have a really good shortstop in Nico Horner, who like. He may not be at the level as some of the guys on the market right now.
This guy right here,
right there. He's a really, really good shortstop. Proved it this year. Showed off the arm strength, showed off the range. Why? So it would be like the question is why do the Cubs even want a shortstop when you got him? Well, because the shift is going away. You got a guy who in the past had been a finalist for the Gold Glove at second base, and he has been open about his willingness to play whatever position. Like he has no issue moving to second base. Hell, if they moved him to center field, he'd probably be a pretty good defender there, and he would be happy about it too. Like he just wants to win in Chicago. He said it multiple times, and as far as what he's told us, like he's willing to do whatever the Cubs ask him. So when it comes to Xander Bogaerts, the thing was, if I'm getting Xander Bogaerts, I might feel more comfortable with Nico Horner at the shortstop than him. He's again, Xander Bogaerts, like you said, he's going into, I guess, his age 30 season. Technically, he turned 30 right at the end, like October 1st, something like that.
Right.
So it's technically his age 30 season. His defense was a lot better this past season, but that again came after years of him being a negative defender.
I don't know if you can count on it.
Various
really.
metrics, so you don't know if you can count on it. The arm strength, who knows if that holds up? And then as he's the oldest one of that shortstop bunch. How is he going to age compared to the rest of them when they have a couple years? I guess Trey Turner's like 29, but Correa's 28. Swanson's a little bit older than that. They have a year, maybe two ahead of him, and I don't know. You mentioned the offense. I just don't know if the defense can hold up. That's what kind of gets to me is like if he wants to play shortstop, we know that. Will that defense actually hold up? And that's where I have reservations about it.
I would love to just be on a fly on the wall for the Cubs front office, just to see like how they are viewing this. Is it that they think Bogaerts is the best of that bunch, which I think you can make that case, and I'm a big Bogaerts fan. I think he's somewhat underrated in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
great
not
leader,
enough people know about Xander
postseason
Bogaerts
experience. Yeah, I mean, surprising for a guy in Boston, right?
Right.
Yeah, he's been doing it for quite some time. But is it that Bogaerts is actually the best, or when you take all of these things into consideration for what they're trying to do, he just ticks off enough of the boxes where he's not going to, demand or command the same kind of deals as a Trey Turner or quite possibly, and obviously, Carlos Correa, who's going to be hunting that $300 million deal. And you know what? Go after your guy now. Kind of take a second tier thing. It was kind of like when we got into our Airbnb. It was like, ooh, are we going to fight over for the biggest room? Well, you know what? My strategy back in the day would be, you know what? I'm going to take the second best room. No one's going to argue over that one. So I'm going to slide in there, feel really good with my second best room. Yeah. And now, you know what? I'm going to be satisfied because it's a lot better than coming in last place, right?
And you're going to be sitting there just like kind of hanging on me and Jesse are fighting over the other room.
Yeah, me and Ryan were fighting all afternoon because of that. So,
yeah, I mean, I still got the big room. But the point is, will the Chicago Cubs, I guess they think Xander Bogaerts is the big room of the free agent class.
No, I could see it as much as we've talked about Carlos Correa and Trey Turner and where their value is, like the how much they're gonna get and how many years. Bogaerts is like a little, like he's definitely maybe a year or two below, and a lot of money lower than what those guys are expected to get. I wrote about this a couple weeks back at allchgo.com about the shortstops and just kind of comparing like where various outlets have predicted like the years and the contract size, the number of years, all that stuff. And Bogaerts is like he's probably right in the middle of like where Swanson and then Turner and Correa are. So that could be completely true, is that they see these guys that want a lot of money, a lot of years, and a lot of teams want them. When you got this third guy who's very good, again, very good. Like I said earlier, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing because he's a very good player. So if the Cubs got him, that would be obviously adding a good player to what they have now. But he's a guy that's going to maybe command a year or two less and a lot of money less. And as far as can the Cubs stomach that? Probably that for sure, more than with the other two, just in case like things don't work out or they have off seasons or whatever. Then you can stomach, okay, this guy's a couple years less on the deal, and we're not paying him as much. Maybe that's it.
I'm a little surprised because Scott Boras is an agent for both Bogaerts and Carlos Correa, and I would imagine you want to set the market with Carlos Correa before you sign your other guys, right? I think he's the agent for Trey Turner as well. So he controls that market in so many ways. So I find it strange that maybe he would even like allow that to happen, unless again, maybe the Cubs aren't even getting that much of savings when it comes to him. Also, I think, we were talking about that. I think Carlos Correa may have to take a Bryce Harper type deal where you're going to get your $300 million. Don't worry, but it's going to be over 13 years. And at the end, it's going to be an albatross, but a lot of these deals end up being for these superstar players. But you got the 300 that you wanted to. Your AAV is going to be down a little bit. So Boras might be able to do both of those things. And maybe the Cubs, don't get the deal they were hoping on, but he will probably be very much south of $300 million.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where it's at. And when, the more we talk about this, that kind of makes a lot more sense. Is like the deal is not going to set the market for Xander Bogaerts. And so maybe that's what Carlos Correa may sign first, or Trey Turner or whatever. Someone to set the market. Yeah. But the Cubs would be smart to jump the market. If Bogaerts is their guy and they've locked in on him and they want to sign him, they'd be smart to jump the market. And that's what we heard. The rumor was that they were about to offer him a contract sometime today. We haven't gotten really an update on that. This is Sunday, by the way. We haven't got an update on that. So maybe by Monday morning or Monday afternoon, that's changed. But that's what the Cubs is. It appears they're doing. They're jumping the market. They're going out and getting a guy that they want for what they command.
Would you give $300 million to Carlos Correa?
Yes.
Not personally, but if you were
not my money, but yes,
to the Cubs. All right,
yes.
That's fantastic. There's no casinos here, so we can't make any bets to possibly win that money to give to Carlos Correa. But we can certainly ride scooters around town, have a good time all week, which is what we're going to do here in San Diego for the 2022 MLB Winter Meetings for all city media. So make sure you stick around and watch.